Hello everyone, my name is eZenhari and I'm an MFA candidate in the Interactive Design Media program. In this video walkthrough, I would like to introduce the rough visual component for my final MFA thesis project that addresses student learning through a customized interactive application for hybrid beginning photography classes. I would first like to argue that the conventional simulators and online instructional methods fall short in delivering higher order learning. As my proposed solution, I would suggest that by utilizing direct manipulation with real-time feedback, a learner can better synthesize cause and effect relationships and thus bridge the gap between abstract concepts and the theory behind those concepts. I would like to take a moment here to mention that this is a very rough wireframe presentation of my prototype application. And based on the user feedback results and feedbacks, I intend to revise, customize, and finalize the design much further for the final thesis project. I would also like to mention that after finalizing my application based on the testing results and feedbacks, I would like to eventually create an app for this application. Based on the first user testing results between my prototype application that addresses student learning and the most popular online photography simulator called CameraSim, over 73% of the beginning photography students found my application to be a much more intuitive and effective learning tool than this online CameraSim, where the students actually found the interface to be very confusing and much too advanced for a beginner learner. When we look at the CameraSim's interface, the visuals are very slick, but it doesn't function very slick at all, and in fact it provides too many options that would cause much confusion for a beginner learner. For example, as I'm moving these dials around, I could see that the text updates here, but the image doesn't change. So once I click on this button, then I see a preview of the picture, and I would see a string of numbers that indicates the settings that I'd selected which produce this image. But as a beginner learner, I really have no idea what I just did. Based on the same survey, over 90% of the students also found the settings, some of these settings, to be way too advanced for a beginner learner. For example, we have shutter priority and we have aperture priority. However, for a beginner learner who may not have even heard of an aperture setting or a shutter speed setting, these could be quite confusing and overwhelming. By the way, you can find the complete testing results on the process page on my MFA website. So at best, these simulators are fun to play with, but they don't really provide a context for the learner as to what they're learning and why they're learning it. Another very popular website is PhotoNet, where you can find massive amount of information on everything about photography. Well, again, this website could be very useful for a seasoned photographer. However, it could be extremely overwhelming for a beginner photography student. What makes my proposed solution a much more powerful application as a learning tool than the available standalone online simulators and textual photography websites is that it deconstructs the major camera controllers into easily digestible parts for a beginner learner. Through direct manipulation that provides an immediate visual feedback, the learner can better connect the abstract photography concepts with the theory behind those concepts. For example, in this low-fidelity prototype, we have 4 major sections: aperture setting, shutter speed setting, film speed setting, and exposure compensation setting. We also have a preview window. We have an original image window, and we have a manipulated image window, which, based on the user's or the learner's selection, basically it updates to show the image next to the original image. We also have dynamic text field that also updates and provides additional learning for the user that adds to the setting that they have selected. In the beginning lesson plans, only one setting, the learner can only manipulate one setting at a time, while the other settings are locked into the indicated gray color. So for this rough prototype, I've only programmed the aperture setting. So through direct manipulation, by clicking on the different f-stops, we can see a few things happen. We can see actually the image updates here, and as I'm choosing a higher number, the image gets darker. As I'm choosing a smaller aperture settings, I could see the image gets lighter. I could also see the aperture opening iris change as well. So the lower number, basically, we have larger opening, and we also have a lighter image, which provides immediate visual feedback for the learner that the larger the opening, the more light can enter the camera, thus the lighter image. We also can see the f-stop that has been selected both next to the manipulated image as well as next to the virtual camera body for additional learning options. We also can see the settings that are locked in the beginning lesson plan, so the learner knows that, for example, in this particular image was produced based on f-stop at 4 and shutter speed that's locked into 250 and ISO that's locked into 200. And this color immediately lets the learner know that they cannot manipulate these two settings and they could only manipulate the f-stop. As the lesson plans advance, the complexity of the application also advances to include complete interactivity between all the camera settings that provide immediate visual feedback simultaneously for the learner. In conclusion, I would like to say that by empowering the learner to actively participate in the process of discovery through self-directed learning, he or she has the opportunity to fully understand the major camera functionalities so that they could more effectively visualize, conceptualize, and materialize their unique ideas and vision in the context of what they're learning and why they're learning it. For this rough prototype, I've only programmed the aperture setting for demonstration purposes, but for a full description and in-depth explanation of all the other settings, please refer to the PDF documentation on the prototype page on my MFA website. I would like to end this presentation by saying that technology cannot create innovative ideas, but by utilizing technology intuitively and efficiently, we can better manifest our personal vision and create opportunities for meaningful learning and communication to make a difference for the better in the world. I thank you for your time and look forward to your feedbacks.